Welcome to the Full-Time FBA Show. In each episode, it's our goal to help you turn part-time hours into a full-time income selling almost anything on Amazon. And now, your hosts of the show, Stephen and Rebecca Smotherman.
Welcome to episode number 309 of the Full-Time FBA Show. Today we're going to be talking about Q4 sourcing mistakes that could cost you thousands. And to talk through this topic with me is my wife and co-host and business partner, and the list goes on of how many awesome things she is. That's my wife, Rebecca. What's up, Rebecca?
Well, I'm just really excited to talk about how we can avoid losing thousands in profits during this Q4. I would rather make thousands extra, not lose it. So.
Same. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'm glad you picked this topic today, and I'm looking forward to getting into it.
Well, let's get into this episode.
This episode drops in early September 2025, and we know that you might already be getting busier and busier with your Q4 prep, so we'll just jump right into today's episode. Right after a quick reminder to join us for our 3-day Q4 Income Accelerator workshop that starts tomorrow, September 16th, if you're listening the day this drops. It's going to be September 16th at noon Eastern. You can join us by going to fulltimefba.com/Q4 workshop. And if it's well past September 16th when you're hearing this, then go check out the replay links at that same link, fulltimefba.com/Q4 workshop.
All right. So today we're diving into one of the most important topics of the year, Q4. And this is the season where most Amazon sellers make the bulk of their profits, but it's also the time when mistakes can really cost you big time.
That's right. And in today's episode, we're going to cover the top 4 Q4 sourcing mistakes that sellers often make, and more importantly, how to avoid them so you can keep your momentum going strong throughout Q4.
But before we get into the topic, I have a confession to make. When I first started outlining this episode, I was going to share the 3 Q4 sourcing mistakes, but that just felt weird. 3 Q4 mistakes? 3, 4? I didn't like that. I mean, I might be just, really picky, but
I think you're like, when you said you have a confession, it's like, oh, this is so serious, but I'm going to take it seriously.
This is a serious confession.
Okay.
Why are you minimizing? Never mind. Anyway, I put my thinking cap on, which is basically a baseball cap, and came up with 4 Q4 mistakes that could literally cost you a ton of time or a ton of profits. 4 and 4, everything in the world is right again. So Rebecca, kick us off with the first of 4 Q4 sourcing mistakes.
All right. The first mistake we see sellers make is trying out a brand new sourcing strategy in Q4. And I get it. This time of year can feel like the possibilities are endless. You want to maximize profits, and that temptation to experiment with something new can be pretty strong. But Q4 is not necessarily the time for trial and error. If you've never done wholesale sourcing, Q4 isn't the best time to try it for the first time. If you've never sourced grocery items, don't start sourcing grocery items and figuring out all the nuance and the details of dealing with expiration dates in November. No, don't do that. Stick to the strategies you already know and you have the data for, whether that's retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, or the wholesale accounts that you've already built up. Stick with that during Q4.
Right. Save the experimenting for January through August, because basically September is all about Q4 prep. And that's why we're talking about this in September. So Q4 prep is in September. Come Q4, play your proven game. Keep focusing on what is working best right now and stick to that until Q4 passes. And then the new year, you can come around to trying new strategies to grow your inventory. Okay. So Q4 mistake number 2 is this: bending Amazon's rules. And I get it about how tempting it is. You find that hot toy during Q4, it's super profitable, it's selling super fast, especially because it's Q4, if it's sold in brand new condition. But what if you're buying it locally from a retail store or an online store, and you want to make sure that you are selling it in new condition, and if the item is actually in new condition? If it has a ding, if it is scratched, if it is not in unopened or unused condition, that does not mean new. And if something went wrong with the condition of the item and it doesn't quite meet Amazon's condition guidelines to sell it in new condition, you don't want to sell it as new.
Right. And remember, selling an item on Amazon labeled as new means that it's in perfect, unopened, gift quality condition. In fact, if you want a refresher, you can see all of Amazon's condition guidelines by going to this quick link, fulltimefba.com/condition guidelines. That will take you right to Amazon's website with their condition guidelines.
Yeah, so basically one of the worst things an Amazon seller can do, especially during Q4, is to bend or break any of Amazon's guidelines.
And Stephen and I know that making more money on a sale is tempting when it comes to bending the guidelines, but the reality is Amazon's guidelines are there for a reason. In Q4 especially, Amazon's going to be extra strict. They're monitoring sellers closely, and if you cut corners even during Q4, you risk losing your seller account or getting your seller account suspended.
Exactly. And seriously, an account suspension in November or December, that can wipe out your total profits for an entire year. It's just not worth it. So follow the guidelines, focus on sustainable profits that keep your account safe and set you up for a great new year selling on Amazon.
Okay, Q4 sourcing mistake number 3 is sourcing on hope and assumptions. In other words, buying something just because you think it will sell fast or that it will get a nice profit in Q4. But spoiler alert, hope and assumptions are not a success strategy. You need to look at the data. Tools like Keepa graphs are essential here. They show you how a product has performed in the past, including past Q4s if that's available. They show you whether the sales rank spikes or drops. They show you how stable the pricing is and if it's likely to tank when more sellers hop on that listing and run up the supply. Mm-hmm. Keepa is a jewel when it comes to making smart sourcing decisions, especially in Q4. And if you're new to Keepa and want a quick intro to Keepa video, go to fulltimefba.com/read Keepa.
Yeah, and if you've heard us talk about Keepa today for the 490th time, that's actually probably an underestimate.
I think that's an underestimate.
Yeah, but if you want to try out Keepa for yourself, go to fulltimefba.com/Keepa because using Keepa data, it's a game changer, especially when it comes to making the best Q4 sourcing decisions possible.
And if the Keepa data doesn't back it up, don't source it to sell on Amazon. Q4 already brings enough risk with competition and price fluctuations, and you just don't need to add more risk by guessing.
Yeah, so finally, Q4 mistake number 4 is this: going out of stock on fast-selling items. Nothing hurts more than watching your inventory sell out in November when you could have kept those sales rolling well through December. And the solution is simple. Reorder early and reorder often. I mean, if you find a winner on Q4, double down on it. Yes, you want to manage your risk, but you also don't want to leave money on the table.
Again, this is where Keepa comes in to help you see it and understand what stock levels you need to keep the sales going through October, November, and well into December. As with any replenishable item you sell that sells fast, keep a close eye on your inventory levels and restock as soon as possible. Sometimes in Q4, even paying extra for faster online arbitrage shipping is worth it if the demand is high enough. If you run out of stock too fast, that's money down the drain. So let's do a quick recap of the 4 mistakes you want to avoid this Q4. Number 1, don't try out new strategies. Stick with what you know works. Number 2, don't bend the rules, but follow Amazon's guidelines. Number 3, don't source on hope. Instead, follow the Keepa data. And number 4, don't go out of stock, but restock your winners wisely.
Yeah, and if you can steer clear of these 4 Q4 mistakes, you're going to be setting yourself for a really good Q4. And remember, if you want even more help preparing for Q4, be sure to check out our free 3-day Q4 workshop. I mean, it's designed to help you experience your best Q4 and set up some serious momentum in your Amazon FBA business that you can experience year-round. So sign up for free, fulltimefba.com/Q4 workshop.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of the Full-Time FBA Show. As a reminder, the show notes and any links we mentioned in this episode can be found at fulltimefba.com/309 because this is episode number 309.
And next week on the Full-Time FBA Show, we're going to be talking about momentum killers, basically the worst Amazon FBA advice that will destroy your growth. Because in over 14 years of selling on Amazon, we've heard some horrible advice. And we've actually tried to follow some advice that first sounded good, but turned out to be horrible. And we'll share it all with you next week on the Full-Time FBA Show.
That's all for this episode of the Full-Time FBA Show. So head over to fulltimefba.com/podcast, where you'll find the show notes and links from this episode. While you're there, subscribe to our newsletter where you'll get several free downloads of our popular and helpful Amazon FBA resources. Now, Take action on what you've learned today so you can find success at turning part-time hours into a full-time income with Amazon FBA.